Welcome! Welcome to Project Pack number 25.
My name is Martha.
My name is Molly. This is the annual celebration of the 12 days of Zentangle in 2024. A lot to say. This particular project pack is all about one of Zentangle's most fundamental techniques.
And most loved.
I think it's one of my favorite for sure because it's fancy. It's like taking it to the next level.
It's the magic trick.
Yeah. And we're talking about drawing behind.
Or the hollabaugh technique.
Hollabaugh fashion.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we often say. But it is a technique of layering and trying to make more depth in your work. And so what we've chosen is a really cool palette of supplies that support that. We've decided to kind of rein things in and do just all black and white, but with lots of
shades of gray.
Yes.
All in between.
Yeah, to really support that. And so this is a really fun project pack that's straight up tiles, working with some tangles that use drawing behind and some of them that we are kind of incorporating in the drawing behind method. So it's been a really fun one. I'm enjoying it. I hope you all are enjoying it as well. So as you can see, we have some supplies here that we're going to be using for this particular lesson. The project pack is available on zentangle.com, and we always like to say that if you do buy a project pack, that does support these videos and future videos. So
yes,
that is a great way to support.
But you can also follow along with things that you have at home.
Exactly, and that's also a mission of ours to make these accessible. So whatever works for you. We love you all. And so what do we have here today, Martha? We have the Micron 05 light gray. We also have a Micron 01 black. We have a regular graphite pencil. We have our new handy dandy Generals 555, which is a really soft, really
deep, dark, buttery.
Yes.
Dark graphite.
And then we have our white charcoal, just in case. Not sure if we'll use it, but we have those. And then we just have a straight up original Zentangle tile.
Yeah,
We're just gonna
bringing it back.
Bringing it back. How about a moment?
Yeah, let's take a moment.
Yeah. Invite you to either gently close your eyes or perhaps just find a focal point. Maybe start off by paying attention to your breath, taking a nice, slow, deep breath. Just take a minute to pay attention to something you're grateful for in this moment. Recognize maybe the warmth of that feeling. Gratitude sort of brings about feelings of, I think, awesomeness a little bit. And use that as fuel for your practice, your day, your next stroke. When you're ready, I invite you to gently open your eyes and get ready to
tangle.
Yeah, let's do it, Martha. This is really, really fun. Happy 12 days of Zentangle. We're going to start, actually, no string, and we're going to start with this light gray pen. What I like about this pen, Martha, I think you and I have talked about this before, that it's sort of the same color as pencil.
Yeah, it really mimics the same tone as a pencil line.
Yeah, so you can kind of play around with that and have the pencil sort of meet that ink line, so without it moving around. So I find it to be kind of a cool magic tool to add to your toolbox, your Zentangle toolbox. And I'm going to be using a tangle, and I think we've kind of nicknamed it a few different things before. So there's a tangle we call Tripoli, which is all about triangles, and they're arranged in this way where they sort of all almost attach themselves to each other without actually touching. We are going to do Tripoli, but instead of it being Tripoli, which has 3-sided shapes, we're going to be using 4-sided shapes. So I think one time we were calling it poly, like polygon, poly.
I wasn't there for that day.
You
I don't
weren't?
know. I never heard that term before.
Oh, really?
No.
I'm just teaching you something
I
new
know.
every
I love
day.
that. Thank you
So
for
it's
sharing.
like
That
a
was...
poly. We're using this O5 light gray pen, and you feel free to watch me for a minute. So as we said, I'm going to start with a four-sided shape, but I'm being very specific not to say a square because it's really going to be a little more free form than that. But I'm going to start by drawing a square of sorts, you know, like sort of not so perfect. I do encourage you not to draw these squares too small because we're going to be working within this grid of sorts, so I don't want you to draw them too small.
It's kind of a good rule for any time you begin tangling on a tile. Most likely something's going to go inside of what you're drawing first.
Draw big first. And so the next stroke I'm going to do is an aura, and it's pretty close to one of the sides of this square. And that's sort of that first stroke, and then I like to take a little break and maybe a nice deep breath. And then I'm going to use this line to create another four-sided shape. So you have to, if you're used to drawing triply, you really need to kind of like pause and think because we're doing squares, not triangles. So now I'm going to find another side.
Really close, tight aura.
Yep, draw that aura. And then, and as you can see, I'm kind of purposely being a little, I guess, artsy.
Creative.
A little artsy with my lines. So now we have a space that's a little different. It's going to require sort of two auras. And I'm going to draw that first one. Take a little pause, and then I'm going to draw the second one. And now I'm going to close this off to create my four-sided shape.
And notice how those aura spaces that she's creating are very, very similar. So that's the goal, is so that those negative spaces have a similar quality.
Right now, I'm thinking I'm going to try to cover like sort of most of one side of this tile. I think I want to leave a little open space on one side for fun, but everybody's tile is going to be really different. So right now, that's my vision, is to have like a little bit of open space. So this one right here might go right off the edge of the tile.
And your tile is most definitely not going to look like our tile, and that's that's the best part.
If it does, then we need to chalk. Everybody's going to have a little bit of a unique spin. I'm going right off the edge of the tile here. And notice how I'm turning my tile each time. And I do think it's a little more interesting if your squares are, let's say, I'm going to say wonky, Martha. What do you think?
I think wonky fits.
Remember to breathe. Take your time. Alrighty. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So I actually love this.
I love it.
Yeah, very, very cool. And so if you did go all the way to the edge, cool, you're kind of at a stopping point. I'm just going to do one little detail here. And I'm just going to aura with that same spacing that we kind of established, but I'm going to go all the way around the outside.
It's like you almost don't even notice it because it is just mimicking the aura that's there. Actually very cool.
Yeah, I agree. It sort of ties it all together. Okay. I'm going to hand things off to you, Miss Martha. Cap my gray pen.
All right. So I am now going to pick up a black 01 pen. And I'm going to put a filler into each one of these spaces. Like we would call them a fragment space. And this filler is it illustrates drawing behind in itself. And then the meta pattern that this filler creates is also drawing behind. So just kind of isolating and looking at one of these squares, I'm going to draw a set of parallel lines with a little bit of a curve, and the curve when you begin and land is pretty essential to the overall pattern. So please watch me for a second.
It's like a flare.
Yeah, it's like a little flare. And I'm drawing, so 2 parallel lines on either side of this corner and landing on either side of this corner. And I'm drawing corner to corner. And as I establish this first set of bands, I'm going to try to stick with that spacing for all of the bands that I'm going to draw. So now I'm going to turn my tile and draw another set of bands that's going to go behind this set that I just drew. Little curve, drawing behind and landing. And these bands, they're not going to be perfectly straight. They're going to adapt to the wonkiness, as Molly said, of each square. So the idea is that I'm now going to draw a set of bands here, but as if this band went underneath the aura and came out the other side.
Tricky.
Now I'll draw my other one over here.
This is a great fragment.
It really is one of my favorites.
I do like it.
So this one, as I see where I'm going to land and have that appear to kind of hook up with that line right there. So you can see what I mean. All of a sudden, this is starting to look like this set of lines is going underneath all that Molly drew in the gray. I'll connect that right here. I adapt and make sure I go down to the corner.
So cool.
So you just continue on. Always drawing behind any line you come up against.
I mean, we've mentioned this so many times already throughout this project pack, but that idea of sort of like drawing in the air first.
Pausing. And yes, that's always a great time to sort of take a breath. You can working your way behind everything that's already there. It's pretty cool trick. And very, a little bit more apparent when you use 2 different color pens. Now these are a little further apart, but that's it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because this underlying web will grow with whatever you have here. All right, so just about finished weaving our web here.
It's looking very cool.
It is looking very cool. I actually really enjoy how it's all...
It's like you can't figure it out.
Coming together.
Right.
Yeah. And I did a fun little play over here, but I thought that I would, and this would be optional, maybe cap off a few of these ends. Again, further emphasizing that play.
Yeah, that is fun behind the aura.
Now we have sort of a kind of really involved grid. And if you want to, inside each one of these squares, you can add a little drama if you so choose. And we thought what we would do is draw an orb that sits behind.
Oh, more drawing behind.
Yeah, it's going to sit behind these crisscrosses, the black bands as they crisscross.
Oh, I love that.
Just taking your time.
Oh, the added ink is very impactful, I would say.
Again, so not getting too lost in your lines, because that's easy to do that. You're wanting to focus on where the black bands crisscross and drawing
Behind.
behind. I find when you're doing fragment work like this, it's a real essential kind of wonderful part of a Zentangle practice, because you can really get into the zone.
I agree with you on that, Martha. It's sort of this, I think, little dance you do.
Sometimes it can feel daunting, like, oh, I have to do that in all of those spaces, but instead it can just be like, oh, I get to do that in all of those spaces.
I was thinking the same thing, yeah. And I think what I enjoy about it is there's like a morphing and a changing. It's not exactly the same thing. It's like, oh, well, I get to do the same thing, but the space is a little different and the size is a little different. So it's like, it's a slight modification and your brain kind of travels along. And it's like part of this is familiar and part of it isn't.
And I love these junctures you come to and you have to decide, well, what's really going on here? Because I can't see it all.
I know, right?
But you get to choose all kinds of shapes you could put behind instead of an orb, too. I see. Do a square. Put a heart back there, miss.
Right.
All right.
Should we shade it?
Yeah, let's add some other shades of gray. All right, this looks great. I actually love it. It looks very cool unshaded too. So, I mean, that's always an option. I always like to say that to people if you're like, this would be like a cool floor, right? Like a tile floor. Anyway, I'm going to start with my graphite pencil here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to work behind some more with the graphite to lift up this grid work and sort of push back the background. I'm going to do that by adding just a little bit of graphite. Nice sharp pencil, kind of in the little bits next to the flare, I guess, right? And I'm not adding too much because I don't want to color the whole thing in. Just kind of create just trying to create a little contrast here. Not too much. I don't need too much tortillon because it just kind of does blends real easily. Kind of just.
I like that technique. You're kind of just pushing it out, not really spreading it.
Yeah, because I like having, see how I'm kind of trying to maintain some of that whiteness? I think it makes some cool variation. Trying to stay out of the gutter too, like don't go into that beautiful aura.
It's good wisdom, Molly.
I know. In a lot of situations, you want your pencil in different ways. In this situation, I want my pencil kind of sharp because just putting down a little bit of graphite and I kind of want it in a very concentrated place. So you can keep going and doing all one
area of shading, or you can kind of blend them out as you go. It's up to you. So it's already starting to, I love watching and seeing the sort of process, right?
If you take a step back, it really is very, very impactful.
Right. All right, so I'm almost done with this first layer of shading. Kind of starting off with the graphite present pencil, and I've been kind of into playing around with layers of shading. So I think I'm gonna go back in with this 555, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of drama in a couple places. So I'm just gonna go kind of right into the corner. I'm gonna do it in one place and kind of show you going right over the other graphite, so kind of just a fun way to play around with layering. It doesn't really need much tortillon. So you can see right here, it just looks a little bit darker. And, you know, it's up to you, but.
No, it is fun to see the different layers and how they complement and enhance what came before it.
Again, you have to have a nice sharp pencil. And then if you want to, and you might be able to just do it with your tortillon, if you want to add a little shadow, sort of where those kind of crisscross go on, you can kind of go in and do that.
So the board that's underneath is getting a little bit of shadow.
And I'm right now just doing it with my tortillon. Might run out of, seems to be working right now. So I think we're getting close, Martha. Wow.
It's really cool.
Really coming together.
What an amazing mosaic this will make.
Right? So I don't know, I think we're in pretty good shape. I don't know if I need to do anything else, but you know, you might do something a little extra special on yours. You know, there's always like kind of little ink details if you want to go back in, and maybe a little rounding here and there. But I don't know, not much, huh, Martha?
No, I think that looks amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think I'll put my chop on here. I really enjoyed this tile, and I think that you may all find that there's a lot of different places you can take this sort of concept and this idea. But for now, I think that's a pretty good tile.
Good job.
Yeah. So, you know, enjoy yourself, have some fun, take some chances, and I'll see you soon.
Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
Take care.